of people, I think, get into media sometimes for the wrong reasons, and it's just about being famous, and then they don't realize, that what comes with that is going to be political pressure. And then as soon as the political pressure comes, they roll over and take Trump's first administration. He got in, he had a lot of good intentions, but he got a lot of bad people and a lot of good people, but most of the good people didn't have thick skin and were scared, so they wouldn't tell him he was being sold out. They didn't really act against Trump, but they didn't warn him. They didn't stick their heads up. And it wasn't many people that would actually tell him what was going on. I mean, if you go back to the first administration, you too, it came out the chief of staff's job was to keep Trump away, from me. It was in the news because I'd tell him, hey, this person works for Soros. They're on the board of directors. Really, they fire him. But then all hell broke loose. They came after me, even more in the deep state. And it wasn't that everybody around, didn't know that, but they already, run Flynn out, people that did know and would speak up. And so, but, the majority of them just sat there and did nothing so they could soak in me and around the power. And, that's really the danger is.
It is the danger.
Not even so much the bad guys, who they are. It's the people that act like they're good guys. And they're not really on the side of evil, but they don't really fight it. And so God said in the Bible, you were hot, no cold, so I spit you out of my mouth. It's the lukewarm fence riders, the sunshine patriots are the problem, but it's the winter soldiers that are going to win the war.
One more thing, Alex, and then we got to go. This is from Conrad's Heart of Darkness, which is the book that Apocalypse Now is based upon, and I love this quote, and I think it applies to what you're saying. Quote, few men realize that their life, the essence of their character, their capabilities, and their audacities are only the expression of their belief in the safety of their surroundings. Now, what I saw, and this is my analysis now about everything I've showed you and I'm about to show you, is that when people are put under pressure, when they feel like their self-interest is threatened, when they're in danger, they will sell out their own mother to protect themselves. That's what I have seen in my life. Not everybody, but most people. Alex, thank you for being on the show today.
You bet. Yeah, James, that's it.
Thank you.
Real integrity is the most valuable thing in the universe. God bless.
Thank you. God bless. And speaking of that, let's go to the board member. Let's go back to the exhibits. We're back now. If you just joined us, we're taking you through this film that we've just launched on O'KeefeMediaGroup.com. You can watch the 12-minute video on my X, but you can watch the full hour-long video on our website. This is a board member, Matt Tiermond, a few days after I was fired. Go ahead, play it.
Does not belong in this
Pause. It's clipping out the. There you go.
Donald Trump does not belong in this race. Multiple things can be true at the same time. As I said a few weeks ago when John and I were here, if he won, he would enter the White House as the weakest president in history because he'd be lame duck day one. Donald Trump is flailing around, making attacks on Elaine Chao, Mitch McConnell's wife. I'm all about attacking
Okay,
Elaine Chao.
pause. It goes on too long, but I don't know what this is all about here. These statements about anti-Trump statements from this board member. Let's continue to go through the story of some of the things that happened in the film, and then I want to get to some other people like Loomer and RC. This is Project Veritas employee John Bailey. Please, cut 19. This is disgusting. I apologize to all of you. You have to endure this, but unfortunately, you wanted to know what happened at Project Veritas. This is John Bailey, who was an employee that testified against me in the board meeting. The board meeting, you'll be able to hear the board meeting in the movie. I'll take you inside that infamous board meeting February 6th where they were crucifying me for all of my sins. I'm a mean boss. Play that. Put that back up, please. Obscene text. This is an image of a dildo in my mouth. This is sexual harassment, by the way. I'm not going to file a complaint, but in New York, you can't do this. You can't do this to people that you work with. Now, after John Bailey sent me a picture of a dildo in my mouth, he then, a few months later, sent me this. An apology. Oh, I'm so sorry. I hope you know I'm mission-oriented. I've got some things I'd like to square, but hey, are you hiring, James? And then John Bailey tries to apply to work for me at O'Keefe Media Group. Okay, I know this is ridiculous, but we're going to keep going, taking you through this. You want to know what happened? This is the IT Associate Director, Angelo Martinez. Now, RC, are you there? Because this one applies to you. I think RC. Okay. I apologize. I'm showing this, RC, but you consented to it being in the film. This is just horrific, a violation of HIPAA laws. Now, RC, can you tell people who is Angelo worked? Was it in the IT department? What he did in the IT department?
Yeah, I mean, this is an individual who had access to all of our devices, all of our phones. Angelo, aside from the federal government who admitted to tapping our phones, Angelo is the one person, who has access to a lot of our comms, a lot of our communications. And for him to, by the way, I invited this individual to my wedding. Again, this speaks to the callous nature. You're talking about people becoming corrupted by access to power. This individual is posting sensitive information about my wife from like random texts from when she was on medication. By the way, don't take antipsychotic medication. It's not good for you. And when you come down from that medication, it really tears you up. So you have an individual I've invited to my wedding who is attacking me in this way simply because I didn't stand with them.
I just want to pause for a second. And all of you listening to RC Maxwell and watching this, there's a film. It's out now at o'keefemediagroup.com. It's called The Truth Inside Vera. It's incredibly cinematic. What we're doing right now, taking you through these different screenshots, is we're slowing it down a little bit, telling you, you're looking at a guy inside the IT department of a company, an IT, what was he, RC Associate Director or Assistant to IT? What was his title?
Wouldn't be able to tell you that.
IT. He worked for Josh Hughes. He was in IT, saying, "quote RC left his wife's text messages on her phone. I have all the receipts of her private medical records. This is a violation of HIPAA." And he's threatening you on Instagram. And we believe he deleted this message, RC, but we've retrieved it. And it's in the lawsuit. This is just disgusting. And I'm sorry that you had to go through this. Let's go to the next one. These are part of the revolutionaries. There was a text message thread called the Revolutionaries. And these are employees who are saying in this, by the way, isn't that ironic, RC, that right-wingers are acting like communists? Like, isn't that weird to you?
I am not surprised now that I've done research on the ways that organizations become cancer and rotted. I am not surprised. This is one of the symptoms. One of the symptoms is, Marxist themes start to seep into certain structures, and that starts to become a cancer.
Are you saying that's like human nature? It's not like a left-right thing. It just exists in all the hearts of men?
Sadly, that's exactly what I think. Jealousy, attempts to control, trying to see yourself as great instead of being, instead of lifting up others. All these facets are at play.
All right, let's take a look at these messages. Let's go back to that one. These are the revolutionaries' text message chats. Now, you might be wondering, how did I get these? Well, was in a lawsuit, and things, or you might be saying, well, how is it legal for you to publish what's happening in a lawsuit? Well, lawsuit's public proceeding. These are not under seal. You can report, a journalist report on court proceedings every day. This is Bethany Rolando, just spoke to Matt Tiermond, Joanna Sumner. These are all people in the fundraising department. Matt asked if I could testify against James O'Keefe. Mario Balaban, Matt asked if I could testify against David. So this guy, Matt Tiermond, is soliciting all the employees to testify against me. Let's go to the next screenshot. This is the IT director. This is the supervisor of RC of the guy who leaked your medical records, saying that Matt volunteered to be an open sounding board. Let's get everyone in the room and testify against James O'Keefe. Let's go to the next screenshot. This is a woman named Arden Young. I asked Matt Tiermond if James will be allowed to speak, and Matt Tiermond told me no. So that sounds like a kangaroo court to me. Let's go to the next. Okay, this is actually quite bizarre. This is an attorney for Project Veritas named Julia Witt, who says that I, quote, took the pregnant woman's sandwich. The lawyer for Project Veritas is claiming that I stole the pregnant lady's sandwich. You've all heard about this accusation, right? What you may not know, or as Paul Harvey would say, now you know the rest of the story, is we actually tracked this pregnant lady down. Do we have an audio of the pregnant lady? Oh, there we go. Now, this, pull it up and then pause it. This is actually a woman who was a co-defendant with Christian Hartsock. Her Christian Hartsock's reporting on the Democracy Partners case. In this court case trial, we're in a trial together. She's pregnant. Apparently, she didn't know that I stole her sandwich. And in fact, we actually tracked her down and got audio of her claiming this never happened. Let's play that clip.
So I don't have any recollection of there ever being a sandwich that was meant for me that you took.
So she's denying that we stole the sandwich. So let's go back to Julia Witt again. Now, by the way, I'm naming names. Most people don't have the balls to name names. But I'm going to name names because I'm being honest. I'm being truthful. Why would attorney Julia Witt, who is supposed to represent the organization and do what's in the best interest of the organization, literally, she's the attorney for Project Veritas. Now, this is a rhetorical question. Why would Julia Witt fabricate an allegation about me stealing a sandwich? Can anybody answer that? I'm just going to let that simmer for a minute. Okay. Let's go to the next one. This is also pretty crazy stuff. Again, if you're just tuning in, you wanted to know what really happened at Project Veritas, and now you know, with a film called The Truth Inside Veritas out now at o'keefemediagroup.com. You can sign up at our website and subscribe, and you'll get to watch this hour-long cinematic movie. The guy who edited, phenomenal film director named Chase, and he's done some incredible work putting all this together. Let's listen to this guy. This guy's name is Barry Hinckley. He was terminated from the company because he did not do, in my view, a good enough job raising funds. And this is a recording from inside the boardroom. If we could just move that play bar over so we could see the subtitles, please. If you're watching on YouTube, you're going to be able to watch the subtitles. If you're listening on X, you can hear it. Let's go back. This is him talking about how I take black cars around and I drive myself around in SUVs. And he's never seen someone take black cars. Now we know who came up with the black cars thing, and it was Barry Hinckley. Go ahead, play this cut.
A lot of employees, and I never lived this lifestyle with black cars constantly thinking, yeah, move me around. The extensive accommodations for the rest of staff was staying one level. I guess all to one for all. Is a nonprofit. I never people did this. One person living one way, and everyone else living another way.
Wow. He's never seen the CEO get compensated differently than other people. A lot of people in the audience wondering, well, gee, I mean, if you're the key man, if you need bodyguards or security, why is that morally wrong? Very strange. By the way, we see Christian Hartsock is in the audience. Do we want to invite him in to tell me how evil I am? I'd love to hear what Christian has to say about people putting semen on sandwiches, saying it's wrong for me to take black cars, fabricating allegations about pregnant ladies' sandwiches, the attorney for Project Veritas fabricating things about that. I'd love to hear about the co-investments in businesses. I'd love to hear about Petrogen, which, quote, could be sold to Pfizer. I'd love to hear Christian Hartsock's response to all those things if he has the balls to respond to those things. Because that's what the story's about. Let's go to the board meeting with all these allegations against me. Let's hear about, this is board member George Skakel of Project Veritas talking about whether I could respond to all these crazy allegations. Go ahead.
What do you expect us to do given these allegations? Well, will I have a chance to respond to them? There's two separate issues here. There's the the quick answer is no, not here, not now. I didn't prevent it from responding, that's for sure.
Pause. So there you have George Skakel under oath lying, saying that he didn't prevent me from responding. Can we go back to the board meeting? Because for those listening on X, it's hard for them to see. just the part where Skapel said, no, 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 no. Go back to that part, please.
Well, will I have a chance to respond to them? There's two separate issues here. There's the
The quick answer is no, not here, not now.
And then, so that's what he said in the boardroom on February 6th. And then under oath in his deposition, play that clip, please.
I think from responding.
Well, that seems like a direct contradiction, doesn't it? Direct contradiction. And one more clip, and then we're going to get to Laura Loomer. By the way, if Christian Hartsock has the courage to actually address these things, we will let him on as a speaker, and I will hear what he has to say. But I want to hear him actually talk about this. I want to hear him address these things. These are serious things that are headed towards a jury trial. That any reasonable person would think is absolutely outrageous and shocks the conscience. But I do want to hear from Christian Hartsock. But first we'll go to Laura Loomer. Go ahead, Laura. What are your thoughts on this crazy stuff? As someone who worked for Project Veritas.
Well, I'm not really surprised. And if you look at the tweets that I sent you when you announced that you were getting control of Veritas again, you saw that 2023, sorry, my phone was ringing. I think that was Roger Stone trying to call me. But you see that the tweets I sent you and posted back in 2023 said that this was likely a coup tied to Pfizer. And I know I sent these tweets to RC and I sent them to you, and it turns out that I was right. And I also suspected that there had been some involvement with the DeSantis campaign and Ron DeSantis, and that turned out to be true as well, because as we saw from some of the files and some of the relationships that some of these people had, they were actively working with the Ron DeSantis for President campaign at the time of this coup and this takedown. So I just think it's incredible how so many people called it a conspiracy, but I guess it's another one of those conspiracy theories come true, James.
Laura, were you ever subject to this sexual harassment? I know this Barton and Tiermond, or there's exhibits in the lawsuit where they're talking about sexual harassment of undercover journalists. Did you ever see anything from these board members that crossed the line in your mind when you were at Project Veritas?
No, I wouldn't say that I saw anything personally. I wasn't subjected to any type of sexual harassment when I was at Project Veritas. In fact, I found it to be very pleasant when I was working for you. I only have a positive memory of working with you and my time at Project Veritas. So when I saw all these accusations, I actually just started laughing. I just thought it was so funny. Oh my God, James O'Keefe stole a sandwich from a pregnant woman. Because I was like, yeah, okay. Rule number one of working at Project Veritas and working for James O'Keefe, make sure that he always has food. I mean, that just sounds like those people are slacking at their job, because when I worked for you, I know that I made sure that you had a snack or something to eat every single time we traveled or every single time we were together. So
I don't want you to say her name, Laura, but you actually know the pregnant woman, who that is. It was the defendant in the Democracy Partners case. Please don't say her name on the air, because this doesn't concern her. But anything else you want to say about? We have Christian Hartsock who wants.
What did you say? What did you say? Your voice cut out a minute on my feed when you said that.
I just said you actually know this pregnant woman that this attorney claimed I stole the sandwich of the pregnant woman. You actually know who the pregnant woman is. She's someone that worked at Project Veritas as an undercover journalist about 10 years ago alongside you when you started with me. And she was the defendant in the Democracy Partners case there at trial. So I just wanted to say that you happen to know her. But
yeah, well, I just, like I said before, they tried to demonize you in the most laughable ways possible. And knowing some of these board members, and look, I've known some of these people for 10, 11 years, right? Because, well, I got to know them very well when I worked for you. My first job out of college, literally I got kicked out of college while working for you. And so it was just really interesting to see all of these people who used to say, "Oh, you're my brother, James. I love you," and "Oh, we're one big family here at Project Veritas," just completely stab you in the back. And it was very disheartening for me because I considered some of these people to be my friends for many years, and then I started to realize that I couldn't really trust them after the way that they were demonizing you and trying to destroy you and steal the company that you worked so hard for and the company that you created with so much adversity from underneath you. So, I guess I have that kind of unique perspective since I know a lot of these people firsthand and was involved in a lot of these investigations for several years working with you. But I think a lot of it has to do with jealousy. I mean, I definitely think that Matthew Tiermont resents you. I definitely think that there's, a lot of jealousy as it relates to like people wanting to be you. When I was watching your film that you released, and we're going to talk about it more tonight because you're my guest on Loomer Unleashed.
Right. I will be joining Laura. I just want to make a plug for your show. I'll be joining Laura tonight at 9:30 Eastern Time. And Laura is like a sister to me. And I've known Laura Loomer for 10 years. Laura did this huge story, made the front page of the New York Post, catching Al Sharpton's, what was the name of that woman you caught on video, Laura?
Well, she's dead now, but Erica Garner, who was
Erica Garner
of Eric, and we got all of the family members of the Black Lives Matter scams who were working with Al Sharpton, and we got them to admit on camera that he basically utilizes the family members of dead black men so that his organization can raise money.
He said he's all about the money, and Laura got this woman on video making that gesture with the fingers. Al Sharpton's up with money. Front page New York Post.
We got Trayvon Martin's family on camera too.
And people at Project Veritas would criticize you, and my response to them was always to say, Laura actually gets results. And you may have issues with, her or whatever personality, but the bottom line is journalists get results. And I consider you like a sister, and I tell people that. They always try to get me to criticize you. I say, listen, I'm not. You're my friend, and I mean that genuinely in a way. I don't have many friends, so Laura Loomer is my friend, and you will always be my friend. Even if we disagree on politics or a tactic on how to get something, it's just, you're my friend. But I really...
I appreciate that. You're my friend too. And that's what I'm telling people. I traveled with James. Look, I've been everywhere with James. I've known him since I was in college. And so when I saw all of these crazy stories and reports coming out about his character and all these accusations, it's just completely false. And it's not the James O'Keefe that I know. And it's not like, a regular relationship where, oh yeah, it's like 9 to 5 and you go to the office and that's that. No, I've traveled with James. I know his family. I know his personal life, right? Like we're very, very close. And so I knew from the get-go that a lot of these accusations about him were completely false. And the reality is that James O'Keefe has a security threat. When we worked at Veritas, and Matt Tiermont knows this, and all the people that are talking shit about James know this, I remember when I was the comms director for Project Veritas during the 2016 presidential election after I had completed my investigation in the Hillary Clinton campaign. And when I was doing communications, I was literally sleeping on the couch inside the Project Veritas office for like the week of the presidential election and we actually had to hire private security, like former CIA operatives, to come do private security at the office because Hillary Clinton was sending reporters around who were taking the license plate numbers of people's vehicles who worked for Project Veritas. And there were several instances of some people like going home and documenting the fact that like their residences had been opened, including mine. And so I'm saying this because James has every right to travel in an Uber Black. James has every right to travel in private transportation. Like, what do they want? They want him to live like a total schlep and not have any, private security and get shot? Let me get
to Laura, stand by. RC, you got about 30 seconds before I go to Christian Hartsock. Go ahead, RC.
Hey, look, I think that those are all very important issues Laura brings up, but I think this issue that you bring up also in the documentary of federal informants investigating Project Veritas, the feds being involved in Project Veritas. We know about you being raided by the FBI. But there is still information that the DOJ could release about exactly what the feds did to Project Veritas. You have to understand, when journalists are investigated by feds, it creates a chilling effect. It's a core issue, and it matters not only because of public trust in media, but it's literally a constitutional issue. So look, I'm challenging Pam Bondi at this time to release all information she has about the feds, the Joe Biden federal government investigating Project Veritas. I think she should.
Yes, thank you, RC. That's a great point. I'm going to make that point every single show I do until this is unredacted. They redacted every single word for RC is referring to of the probable cause, that is the justification for the search warrant against myself, Eric Cochran, and Spencer Meads. And while they dropped the case in February, the FBI dropped the case about the diary and the raid against me, and there's no criminal investigation. They redacted every word. We need that unredacted. We believe we're confidential Fed informants at Project Veritas. Oh, and by the way, it's a crime to lie to the FBI. So whoever lied to the FBI about the fact that we committed a crime, we're committing a felony. Hey, maybe that's why they hate me so much. It's people tend to project onto you. But we're going to go to Christian Hartsock. Christian, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. My question for you is this. Do you think it's okay for Matt Tierman to say things like, quote, "cum guzzling dumpster" to my current chief technology officer? Do you think it's okay for Angelo Martinez to steal medical records from an innocent woman? And do you stand with the individuals after they sexually harassed me, sent me pictures of semen covered on a sandwich, counterimposed dildos in my mouth, and board members co-investing in medical companies? What is your comment on that behavior, Christian Hartsock?
No, they know exactly how I feel about that, about those texts. And but you know me. I've been friends with you for 15 years.
Wait, hold on a second. Define friend.
Wait, are you gonna? No. You want me to answer, or are you gonna talk over me?
Go ahead.
Okay. I remain friends with everyone. For the same reason I remain friends with you after you tried to lure Abby Boudreaux onto a boat full of dildos and condoms and chocolate strawberries and sex toys for God knows what fucking reason, and lied to me about it when all she wanted to do was get on the set of Landry Dance and film me directing it. I stayed friends with you. You made a public humiliation of me, and I stood by you. Scott Zamos called me, invited me down to Sunset to go on CNN and distance myself from you and say I knew nothing about this, which was true. You totally blindsided me. I knew absolutely nothing about it. But I said, no, James, you're too late. James already called me and apologized, and he's my friend, and I will stand by him. And I always stood by you. I continued to stand by you. I never stopped considering myself your friend. Where I stopped short is being willing to lie to the public for you, which is exactly what you were doing. When you claimed that you were ousted, which you are still lying. Why are you lying about that?
So
No, I'm not done. I'm not done, James.
So this is not your show. We're gonna cut your mic. Mute the mic, please. Mute the mic, Christian. Christian, I'm happy to have a conversation with you, but this is not your show, and I asked you a question. I asked you a question about the board members co-investing in companies and their conflicts of interest. Are you willing to have a conversation with me about the board members of Project Veritas terminating James O'Keefe? Are you willing to talk about that? Yes or no? You can unmute Christian's mic. It won't be a monologue of you spouting about random stuff from...
What do you mean random stuff, James?
I'm asking you a question about the board firing me and your comments about
Tell me when the board fired you. Tell me the date the board fired you. Because you told the public one thing, and you told, and the reality we know was that it was 3 months later.
February 10th, 2023 is when the board voted to indefinitely suspend me without pay.
Okay, so you just notice what you just did. You just moved the goalposts. You changed fired you.
Never changed anything.
Definitely suspended you. Of course.
No, that is
you had to.
termination under New York law. Indefinite suspension without pay is called indentured servitude, aka slavery. So that would be considered termination under federal law.
What they voted to do was suspend your ability to retaliate against employees who had bravely testified to the way you had treated them.
So let's talk about the grievances, Christian. What do you think about Julia Witt manufacturing a claim that I stole a pregnant lady sandwich?
Notice you conveniently leave out.
What is your response?
I'm responding.
I would love you to answer. What is your response to the lie about the pregnant lady sandwich, Christian Hartsock?
What are the words that you left out of what Julia Witt said? She said you yelled at her, you shouted at her. And
I yelled at her?
Sandwich. That's exactly.
You didn't respond to my question.
I am responding to your question. What you're doing.
The question is.
Can I just say something? Why are we pretending like in this industry, even like regardless of whether you yelled at the woman or not? It's called investigative reporting. This is high-profile investigative reporting. There were so many instances in the office where people yelled at each other, not because they were trying to be disrespectful, but because, we're breaking a big story. But people just need to stop being so fake about, you yelled. Who cares? A lot of people yelled at the office.
Christian,
So James,
hold on. I'm going to cut your mic. This is not your show. Cut his mic. I'm going to ask you a question. And here's the question I have. And it's a very specific question. An attorney for Project Veritas fabricates a claim that I stole a sandwich. Your co-defendant, whose name I will not mention because it doesn't concern her, a fellow investigative reporter, comes out and denies this ever happened. Christian Hartsock, what do you have to say about an attorney fabricating an allegation? Please limit your answer to the question that I've asked you. Go ahead.
If she fabricated it, then why did you draft an apology? Why did you ask the board if you could read an apology letter at 4 hours and 41 minutes into the board recording that you made?
I didn't say that she fabricated it.
I quote, if I don't change,
cut his mic.
Will lose Project
If
Veritas.
he's not gonna cooperate, we're not gonna. I didn't fabricate it. Your fellow colleague, you know who she is, in the Democracy Partners case, said that she fabricated it. What is your response to her fabrication? What is your response to that? Go ahead, answer the question.
First of all, I reject your premise that Julia Witt fabricated and she was.
But that's what your colleague said.
No, there was probably a misunderstanding of her stupid sandwich. The point is, you verbally abused her, James. That was her grievance. You didn't fucking read what she wrote. She said you verbally abused her. Who gives a shit what it was about?
All right.
Okay. Number two. Why did you say in the board meeting at 4 hours in the quote crucifixion?
Is this verbal abuse right
Why
here?
did you say?
I feel like I'm the one being verbally abused.
I'm saying.
Oh well.
I mean, why are you cursing at me so much?
Okay.
Is this how you talk to your colleagues?
Cursing has never offended you, so I guess okay. I will not use.
I mean, the comments I'm getting right now is this guy's screaming and cursing at you. You're doing precisely what you accuse me of. You're projecting onto me.
You're doing. Okay. Why did you say to the board? Why did you say I appreciate everyone caring so much about the mission? I really appreciate everyone being so honest.
Well, evidently, because I didn't realize at the time what I know now, which is that many of these people don't actually care about the mission. And that came out afterwards when they called me a quote faggot, when they sent me pictures of semen covered as sandwiches, when attorneys fabricated allegations, when board members solicited investments from donors and didn't disclose that, which is a violation of the conflict of interest. I learned so much. I was once blind and now I see, Christian. My question for you is this.
You see what?
Now that you know the
character. If I don't change, we will lose Project Veritas. Why did you say that?
Because I didn't think it was.
Why did you turn around and belittle? Was it 6 hours of Julia talking about a sandwich, James? Was it 6 hours of Julia talking about a sandwich? Or were there very real grievances that were brought to your attention that you said, if I don't change, we will lose Project Veritas?
I mean,
what did you mean by
I
that?
guess
What
the
about-
question is, I sent an apology letter, and I genuinely meant it about saying in front of other people, there's the door. But the problem is Barry Hinckley stated he would not follow my lead. So my question back to you, Christian Hartzog, in a situation where I tell someone, you need to do this, and they are insubordinate, what was I supposed to do? You want me to raise $24 million a year, and you're not allowing me to take an SUV. So what exactly do you expect me to do as the CEO or leader? And that's the problem with your logic. You don't have an answer. You just keep going back to I yelled at somebody. I don't know what you're referring to.
No, that's the part. No, that's not. No, that's the thing you want to laser focus in on. For the last 2 years, all you have focused in on is Sandwichgate and black cars. When you know goddamn well, you sat there.
Can
Why
you
did
please
never
stop
release
cursing
why have you
at
not
me?
released the tape? Why? Okay, James. In 16 years, you've never been offended by the F word. Why are you pretending to be offended by it now?
Because I think it's important that we can
Why are you
have...
pretending to be someone you're not? You use the F word all the time. You were never this thin-skinned pussy about it.
Okay, well, because we're on a public show in front of hundreds of thousands of people.
Okay, all
And
right.
I think it's important to try to have a cordial conversation without hurling
Okay.
expletives.
But I really don't appreciate the way you've been attacking people for the last 2 years. Laser focused. First of all, deriding, completely belittling, very real. And you lied on.
Hey, Christian, I'm raising money right now for lawyers to defend the reporting, some of the reporting you were involved in. I don't think you understand the price of being a leader when you have to raise tens of millions of dollars a year. And your colleague said, I will not follow your lead. And then you guys ran out of money, and there was no money to defend you. So help me understand. Help me understand. What were you guys thinking?
What do you mean? What was I? You abandoned us, James. No one wanted you to leave Project Veritas. No one wanted you gone, and you know that.
I was
Which is why
indefinitely
you're not released.
suspended
You
without
were never
pay.
released. Because of course they had to suspend you from retaliating against employees who had testified. That's a normal thing.
And how did that go
your
for
ability
them?
to hire and fire, and they suspended your ability to raise money while pending the results of an internal audit, which is the part you conveniently leave out.
And
No
can you
one
give
has-
me an
they even
example
said in
of
the board
something I did financially wrong, Christian Hartzog? Can you give me one example?
That's not. Well, if you had waited for there to be an internal, maybe you were completely innocent. But clearly you were not, because you cut and ran. You were afraid of simply sticking with the team and saying, "Hey guys, don't
So
worry."
if I were to indefinitely
But why
suspend
did
you without pay, that's called indentured servitude in New York State. I can't indefinitely
Okay.
suspend someone without pay and tell them they work for me. If I were to indefinitely suspend you without a paycheck, what would you do?
Well, there was a subsequent board meeting later that week that you didn't show up to. If you were so confident that you had been spending donor money, without anything for anyone to complain about, then why didn't you stick around for that board meeting, that second board meeting?
Because they told me to be gone for 2 weeks. They told me to be
No,
gone for
they
2
did
weeks.
not. This is where you know you're lying. They
All
did
right.
not tell you. You're going to tell me that they invited you to a board
Can I
meeting?
get a response from you on the issue before the federal judge, which is the
No, I want to know why
Cut
did
his
you
mic.
not show
Cut
up
his
to that
mic.
board meeting?
See, here's the thing. This is my show, and when you go in front of a jury, you don't get to yell at the jury and the federal judge. I want to talk about what I want to talk about. I want to ask you, Christian Hartzog, another question. What do you think about the board members of Project Veritas publishing private, intimate text messages between me and my girlfriend? And please only answer that question. If you deviate from answering that question, I'm going to cut your mic.
Everything.
Go ahead.
They know everything. They know exactly how I feel about that.
And how do you feel about that, Christian Hartzog? Be brave. Tell the world.
the same way I felt about you trying to lure Abby Boudreaux onto a boat full of dildos and sex toys, and making me take the fall for it on CNN.
How do you feel
Okay,
about
I
the
still
board,
stayed your friend.
board members of the company publishing the IT person publishing R.C. Maxwell's medical records? Tell me your response to that. Are you brave enough to
they
make
know
a
as well
comment?
as I do. Excuse me. They know very well, and they've known all this time that I never that I'm against that, as you well know. Okay, but here's the problem: is you want me to be this avatar for everything that anyone has ever done to you or RC, when I'm not. You invited me to talk. I will talk about what was within my knowledge and was within my control. And the fact is, you abandoned your team. You lied to the public. You were not
Christian,
ousted,
you
and
liked
know
the
it.
comment that Angela made, trying to torment and taunt my wife, by the way. You liked that comment on IG. You're going to sit here and you're going to say, I don't remember it, because you're not man enough to sit here and say, yes, I liked that comment because I had animosity for you because you stood with James. See, this is the problem.
Well, I don't think that's not a comment that I would like. And why don't you take this up
Evil,
with Angela?
corrupt power cannot win unless there are people like you who are either too stupid not to know the difference or willing to be a puppet. And I feel like you're either in one category and you yourself are not.
You're projecting because RC, you told me yourself, you're projecting because you told me yourself James needed to be reined in. And you told me that, but if James leaves, you will leave to protect your brand. It didn't. You even told me it didn't matter who was in the wrong. If James left, you would leave to protect your brand, and sure enough, that's what you did. The brave souls that stayed aboard Project Veritas and refused to join.
You're saying you're righteous. We're all liars, and we're all doing it for what?
Well, you knew James was lying. You knew James was lying.
Can I ask you an honest question? Did you know that we had board members who had medical companies who were potentially shopping them to companies like Pfizer? Were you aware of that?
Yeah, and all that would matter if James was actually ousted. But here's the thing, RC. You know damn well James was not ousted.
Okay, we're gonna
had a company.
You aware that they knew about the Pfizer investigation for 2 years? Why did they suddenly wait until the release in January, late January 2023, to suddenly say, you know what? Now James has gone too far. Let's oust him. They knew about Matt Tierman knew about the Pfizer investigation for 2 years.
question. Are you currently in a revolutionary chat with Tierman? Are you currently in a revolutionary chat with Matt?
No, why don't you answer my question, James? I will answer your question after you answer mine. Why did you?
That's a tautology. I don't have to answer your irrelevant questions.
I don't have to.
Because when this goes before a jury, you're not going to be able to yell and scream at a judge and tell him to answer your questions. Publication of private facts, defamation, is unlawful, Christian Hartsock. You can't publish people's private medical records. Do you understand? You cannot publish people's private medical records. The fact that you are unable or unwilling to condemn someone publishing R.C. Maxwell's wife's medical records says so much about you. You can't sign a conflicts of interest policy at a nonprofit and then invest in companies and not disclose it. You can't do that. Now I'm going to give you one more chance. Do you have any comment on the following things? Do you have any comment on sexual, graphic, and obscene messages sent from these are your friends? Do you have any comment on the attorney of Project Veritas fabricating an allegation according to the pregnant lady? And do you have any comment, most importantly, on the board members of the company co-investing in companies and not disclosing that conflict of interest? Do you have any comment on those three things? Go ahead. Christian.
And you have no proof that Julia fabricated anything, except what she didn't fabricate was you verbally abusing her in front of people, whether it was someone's sandwich or not. Why do you laser
All
focus
right,
on
get him
sandwich?
off, get him off the air.
Were they talking?
Get him off the air.
Music dinner.
I mean, I wanted to give you guys a glimpse into this. I run from nothing. I hide from nothing. You got to hear directly from one of the people at Project Veritas who was fired after the company ran out of money. RC, what's your reaction to that?
Look, I want to know who is a federal informant at Project Veritas, who was a federal informant. I think the picture is still cloudy. Like I said, I think that, powerful people can't do evil unless there are pawns they can use. I think Christian is one of those pawns. I am curious to what the next depositions, what comes out. I'm curious to hear what Matthew Tierman has to say in his additional deposition. We know he's conniving. You heard the clip that his anti-Trump clip that speaks to his conniving nature. I think there's still.
I wonder what Christian has to say about Matt Tierman saying Trump will never be president. Like that, I didn't think to ask that question. But I don't want to, bother you guys with ramblings and non sequiturs. And this is for the viewers. I mean, this is the kind of, unfortunately, and by the way, let me be fair. I think Christian did some great work at Project Veritas. The two things I think he did amazing were the report on Bob Creamer, which, by the way, I'm appealing to the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. We're currently paying for the legal fees to defend the journalism that he was involved in. He did great work. I think he did great work on the story involving an ABC producer that was caught on tape saying they need to cross the Hudson River and actually research why people in this country love Trump. Christian did some great work. Unfortunately, Christian Hartsock fell a victim to, he wanted more credit, and he became, I believe, resentful and quite vindictive after he was not given the credit as an undercover journalist. And that turned into a kind of vindictiveness and a kind of resentment. And I actually, so I want to be fair that I think he did some good work, but unfortunately, and this is what it comes down to, if you don't have integrity in your life, and if you can't condemn what we're talking about here, and if you can't take a stance, then it doesn't matter how good it doesn't matter how talented you are or how great your output is. You have to have integrity. And that kind of gives you a glimpse into kind of some of the people that I have had to deal with. Two things can be true. They can be talented. They can do some great things. But if they're going to send me dildos in my mouth and send a picture of me nailed to a cross, I don't know if we have that one. We don't even want to show it's too graphic. They nail me to a crucifix. I'm sorry, I can't work with you. And I thank God every single day that these people are no longer in my life. See, that's the blessing that God gave me. You don't work for me anymore. I don't need to pay your bills anymore. I don't need to raise money to make sure that you're fed, that you're traveling around the country. So we'll end it on that one. And we have a few more exhibits to go through, and then we're going to get to you, the viewers. We want to hear from people who've watched the film. If you're just tuning in, you are listening live to James O'Keefe on the Inside, talking about what really happened at Project Veritas and taking you through little glimpses of the film that we've released. What's next? The board member wanting to this is the board meeting. You're actually in this movie, The Truth Inside Veritas. We're going to take you inside the board meeting, and you're going to hear audio and video, see video of me trying to defend myself with these
into the
crazy
message
accusations.
that you have to deliver. So really understand your audience.
This is, we don't have sound on this clip.
Sorry.
We're going to have sound in a moment. This is me, pause. give some context for the listeners. This is me trying to defend myself. I'd love an opportunity to respond to these accusations. You heard some accusations by Christian Hartsock hurling things at me, that I yelled at somebody. Okay, I'd love an opportunity to respond to that accusation. Let's listen to these attempts to make this is from the board meeting when I was, right before I was fired. Play it.
Should you respond when Barry Hinckley is off the phone, please? Do I have a chance to respond to this? I would like to read my.
Go, look for you.
He made no effort to defend himself.
The chance.
Let me, you. I'm sorry.
I'd like to respond.
So pause. There's 5 or 6 times during this board meeting that I was begging to respond to these weird allegations, and they would not let me respond. They refused to let me respond. Keep going.
I think it's only appropriate to have the chief executive officer respond with the facts. I have a right to respond.
Or object to anything anybody was saying.
So this is unbelievable, the contradictions here. If you're listening, you can go to o'keefemediagroup.com, watch the full film, subscribe. It's $9. o'keefemediagroup.com to watch this incredibly cinematic experience taking you on the inside. You know, one of my mantras is show, don't tell. You don't have to take my word for it. You can actually hear what these people were saying in the board meeting. Let's go to a few more. This is board member of Project Veritas admitting that he wanted to harm me.
When did you switch to wanting to harm James? After James started claiming he was fired.
And I said he wanted to harm me for making the statement that I was fired. And I think we want to go through some callers, and this is when I go to the audience here. If you want to join the discussion, please DM me, James O'Keefe, III, and my producers will get you in. This is James O'Keefe, III on X. If you want to join this discussion, I want to hear from people who've watched the movie. And I think we have someone that is going to call in a minute, or if that person is no longer, okay. For those of you who've watched the movie or have seen The Truth Inside Veritas, I think Zach Voorhees has watched the movie. So, Zach, you're on board. Go ahead. Zach is connecting. Zach Voorhees, of course, the famous Google whistleblower from 2019.
Outlining
Blew the
the
whistle on
roads to
Google's
use, the areas to
algorithmic
avoid,
unfairness.
the most efficient
Zach,
times to
watch
travel,
the full
and the
film.
best
I'd like to
survival
hear your
techniques
reaction,
to
Zach.
use
Go
on your
ahead.
journey. How would you feel in comparison? Well, I'd imagine you'd feel a little more
when I
confident
saw the
that you're
movie,
going
I
to
was-
get to
I was
where
like,
you want
this-
to go,
I
rather
really
than
hope
just being
you
pointed
release this
in the general
to the
direction.
general public
The
because everybody
deliverables
needs
of a
to know
visual
the movie
brand
was
are
surprisingly good.
the route
And I say that
outlining.
like honestly. You know, it's like these movies where you click through and, you know, sometimes they're iffy. This one is amazing. There was a lot of stuff that I was surprised he held back. Like, I went into this movie thinking that I already knew the whole story, but the stuff that you had in this movie was absolutely incredible. To all you, you know, to the people that did this to you, James, I have to say, shame on you first. Like, the problem is that you believe that you were Project Veritas, and you pulled a coup, and now you're not doing journalism, and James is. And thank God for people like you, James, that have come through. I trust you're going to prevail. It's a pretty open and shut thing to me. Like, once you get all the facts out there, a rational person is going to realize that this was a coup. It was done for power, and because of the resilience of one man, James O'Keefe.
Hey, Zach, you mentioned after watching the film you saw something you didn't know or something, because you're pretty knowledgeable about some of this. You paid close attention. What was it about the film, or what did you see in the movie at o'keefemediagroup.com called The Truth Inside Veritas? What was it that really struck you this time around?
How the board members, who's that? It was that older gentleman who was in the deposition a lot.
George Skakel.
George Skakel, yeah. He was saying things under deposition that he clearly was lying about. And to see everybody involved in their ability to lie, like just continuously lie and lie and lie, was quite frankly frightening.
And why do you think that? What is your assessment? Is it? You know, I have my hypotheses, but it seems to be based and predicated in some type of envy or resentment for not getting fame. And what do you think? How do you analyze that? Because you're pretty good at getting into depth on some of these issues.
Look, I've been an entrepreneur. I've shipped 8,000 units for a product I built in China. I had the same thing happen to me. And when I saw what was going down, I started to investigate. If you look on my timeline, you'll see that I posted James's struggle sessions. And I've listened to that audio about 3 times. And that's actually the reason why I decided that I was going to back you, is because when you hear the struggle sessions, what you see is a person who's coming into a board meeting, hasn't really done anything really that bad, with his tail between his legs. And what he doesn't realize is he's walking into a theater, essentially, in which the outcome has already been predetermined. Mm-hmm. And once I saw that, I was like, okay, yeah, how can you back somebody that's power hungry? They didn't build that. You did. What is that rooted in? Is that because I think the struggle session is something they say, well, this isn't a struggle session, but you see in the film, The Truth Inside Veritas, that they don't want me to actually respond to any of these things. So it's rooted in this Maoist philosophy, this Chinese punishment, this you need to feel abused and tortured by us, which is the farthest thing from any American concept of justice. One of the greatest ironies of my life was to see people who are ostensibly right-wingers behave like communists. I mean, these are not unknowing people. Skakel has an MBA from Harvard. Tierman studied economics at the University of Chicago. These are not unknowing people. But it also showed a profound lack of wisdom. And is it rooted in the distinction between knowledge and wisdom, Zach? I think it's rooted in ego and being able to craft an internal narrative for yourself that makes the actions that don't make sense to the individual. And in a way, I almost can't even blame them, right? Because some people are just built that way. And, unfortunately, you were surrounded by them.
Well, Zach, thank you. We got a couple that people want to get to before we call it in 15 minutes. I appreciate it, Zach. Let's go to the next caller. This is Mike. Go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
How you doing, James? Can you hear me?
Yes. I'd love your response to The Truth Inside Veritas Part 1.
Well, honestly, I did not watch The Truth Inside Veritas Part 1, but I hear you guys talking about wisdom and envy and jealousy. And as someone who has came from nothing and made it, I've watched the people around me, get envious and jealous in the workplace. And I think that has to do a lot with human nature. And first of all, I want to thank you for all the hard work that you do and the balls that you've had to get up and go investigate all this stuff that's been going on in this country that half the other people have no balls to get up and do, that they've been afraid to get online and speak the truth. I get it. A lot of people have been censored. They've been taken down by the system, and I think you're an example of the system trying to take you down when you try to speak your truth. But and this is what they do. They try to get people to come and speak up against you. They try to take you down any way they can. It's a why them, not me mentality in the workplace. I don't know about this Veritas thing, but I heard the kid crying that somebody yelled at him. His boss yelled at him. My boss used to yell at me every day. I mean, that's business. That's how it works. There's a difference between reprimanding somebody on the job and telling them what to do, and
Thank you for the comment, and I hope you do watch it. You can watch the 12-minute excerpt on our X page. We've posted a whole video explaining, but I want everyone to watch this movie and support us at O'KeefeMediaGroup.com. Please subscribe. It's $9. People say, why do you charge for journalism? We're entitled to your stories. You're not entitled. That's also a communist argument. You're entitled
Well,
to my labor.
James, I'm sorry.
No, I'm
to cut
not
you off.
talking about you, sir. I'm talking in general. People make
No,
comments.
of course, but I just want to point this out.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
I want to point out people don't understand what you're doing. You can't do it on your own. You do need black SUVs. You do need protection. You're putting your life in danger to expose the corruption.
Did you see the people on the rooftop for our private event in Palm Beach? We had guys look like Train de Aragua. They had masks on. People say you're DJing. Yeah, I'm DJing with Train de Aragua guys.
Spending $5 trillion. You
4 or
created
5
$17
bodyguards,
trillion
bulletproof vests, and by the way, people say
10
you shouldn't have
years.
fun. You shouldn't have
Do
joy.
not trust
You
or
shouldn't
vote for
dance.
Dan LaHood.
Okay, what do you want me to do? Be in a cave and be joyless? Yeah, there are definitely a few days where, or a week or so, where you kind of sit back and say, I'm in danger. But you also have to send a message. I appreciate your comment. I want to get to a few more people. Let's go to the next person up. I appreciate that. Oh, and by the way, before I go to the next person, he's right about one of the questions I have. This is a rhetorical question. Are the people at Veritas who have all these very bizarre and strange resentments and envies, what are they going to do at their next employer? You can't behave like this in any organization. Let's go to who do we have up next? Died suddenly. Go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
It's not within.
Hey James, this is Edward Zoll. I'm one of the producers for Died Suddenly. I appreciate kind of seeing you and getting to kind of work you a little bit at the party.
Yeah.
And listening to this space has been quite something. I think you mentioned this to Alex Jones prior to the exchange with this Christian fella. It's so difficult to fund and operate media on the right. It's very long hours. The sponsorships are not as lucrative. We don't have Soros money sitting around the corner for everything. And I found one of the most intriguing parts of this is that you look at what was sacrificed over the last couple of years, especially since going back to your time at Breitbart. I mean, you're one of the founding fathers of the kind of dissident, non-establishment right. That many people, including myself, kind of came up in after you already had set the tone. And just hearing Christian, I had no idea that one of the ringleaders in this is working at OAN now. I was looking at his profile. I was like, holy crap!
Christian works at American News.
Maybe not. In his profile, it says he's one of the producers for Chanel Rion. And it just makes me ponder. So you got some very talented people working for you, and I just wonder, where the rest of them have scurried off to. And as you just noted, who are they else about to sabotage? And who else are they about to unleash the same kind of thing that they did to you, the same coup, the same kind of disloyalty?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a legitimate question, and it really. Did you watch the Truth Inside Veritas?
Yes, I did, and the boardroom was honestly the most shocking part. I think what you just mentioned about the Maoist kind of tone to that whole thing is that you went in there and it was a firing squad.
Firing squad.
You did your best. No one can be criticized. What the heck are you supposed to do? There's no manual.
Well,
the people that are your best friends.
We're speaking to someone who's actually watched the film, and for those of you who have not watched the film, this film is behind our paywall. We are publishing some excerpts on X page, 12 minutes or so, but he's talking about the part of the movie which you can watch by going to o'keefemediagroup.com. It's $9, where we actually play the video and audio from the famous board meeting on February 6th. And you said it was a firing squad. Just talk to me about what your reaction to that was. You heard the testimony of the employees about sandwiches and I'm a mean boss and some stuff like that. What was your reaction to that stuff?
I think you were actually very measured in it. I mean, I can just to set the tone. These people were your friends. You'd provided for them. You'd worked, tireless hours, put yourself in danger to provide resources and to fundraise. Like we say, fundraise. I mean, you have to literally break 10, 15 national stories, to get to where you could fundraise $20 million a year. It's not any small thing. Not anyone can do that. And then the very same people are essentially setting you up. They're setting the tone and setting the stage for a legal battle. Well, that's what that boardroom kind of stunk of, is that they were just trying to throw things at you. They drug up whatever they could drug up, and then the ultimate goal was to get the response. Maybe they wanted to have you melt down worse. Maybe they wanted to have
I
something.
think the one credible advisor said they were trying to get me to lose my temper. And what's ironic about that is,
I think that's correct.
the more people get angry and hostile towards me, the calmer I get. It's like when I'm confronting bad guys, I'm extremely calm. And I didn't lose my temper. So they had to come up with some very strange, truly surreal, bizarre things. It's wrong for me to have a car transport me to meetings. I'm not sure I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Uber carpool myself. I don't know what the thinking is, but let me ask you a question. You seem like a smart man. Do you think this is just human nature, bell curve distribution? Or do you think, and I don't want to give you a false dichotomy if there's another option, is it human nature that we're witnessing when people are put under pressure? Or is it, something else?
I think it's not so much human nature as much as it is the right wing attracts a certain persona, a certain character or person. There's a lot of very courageous people on the right. There's also a lot of really dysfunctional people that have emotional problems, anger issues. They're incredibly good at what they do, but they don't always play well with others, and they also are not always used to playing on a team. And part of playing on a team is you don't always get a win-win. It's not always the best case scenario. Being on the team is about the team winning.
So you're saying people on the right it's more common amongst teams consisting of so-called right-wingers?
I'd say that's part of it. And then the second is that I think the right, especially the last 10, 15 years, it's become less religious, more power broker, more politics. And the issue with that specifically is that we get away from, I think, the core mission. I think many of the people on the right, just to speak broadly, we wouldn't get into as many fights as we get into if we just can remember who our original enemy is. It's Satan. And none of this other stuff really matters, and people shouldn't be putting.
We had a bunch of atheists at Project Veritas.
Really? Well,
yes. I guess it's illegal in New York State to ask whether you're a Christian when you're hiring, right? So the world is so screwed up. It's like, it's very. I think this movie. I'm going to make a comment here. Just I think this experience, having gone through it, it makes you question everything. It makes you question God. When the people that are closest to you, at least temporarily question God, but everything, your whole world collapses, and people are lying about you and betraying you and stabbing you, and any other comment you want to make about the film or something that struck you about it before we go to the next caller?
I appreciate you letting me talk. The only thing I'd add is just I hope through it that you haven't lost your faith, and I think it was commendable that you stayed strong and you stayed upright. And most people would have just caved.
Well, I did lose my faith temporarily. I would say that the word I would use is discouraged and disheartened. Discouraged, and Jordan Peterson talks about this type of betrayal being the worst hell on earth a man could possibly feel. But that's temporary, and you got to keep going. Never give up. But it's been nice talking to you. I'll hope to talk to you one-on-one more. Okay?
Take care.
Thank you. Let's go to the next caller. Who do we got, guys? All right. Anwar, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. Is it Anwar?
Yeah, that's correct.
Anwar, how you doing today?
I'm good, James. How are you?
We're talking about The Truth Inside Veritas Part 1. Have you had a chance to watch any part of it?
I'll be honest, I have not, but it's something I'm going to be doing definitely tonight after I finish with this stream that you're on.
And what's your reaction to what we're talking about today with some of what you've heard?
That's why they hate so much.
So I mean, it honestly sounds like a lot of collusion going on, and there are a lot of assets involved to try to re-guide the focus and try to make you seem like you're governing somebody you're not. And it's just it's a tactic used generally as a psyop to try to manipulate a lot of your followers' beliefs that they have in regards to you.
Well,
and this whole thing going back with, Christian going back and forth with
outlining the
you
roads
was
to
just a
use,
smokescreen,
the areas to
and
avoid,
how
the
Christian
most
came out
efficient
guns
times
blazing,
to travel,
talking about,
and the best
I mean,
survival
the first thing
techniques
that
to
Christian
use
opened
on your
up
journey.
with was
How would you feel in
you
comparison?
inviting
Well, I'd imagine
somebody
you feel
on
a
a
little more
boat
confident
with
that you're
chocolate
going to
covered
get to where you want to
strawberries,
go, rather than
dildos,
just
and
being
sex
pointed
toys. It
in
made
the general
absolutely
direction.
no sense.
Now, the
It was just
deliverables of a visual brand are
it
relatively
was an attack,
brief, outlining
and
the
it
roads
was
to use.
the whole purpose of that was to get everybody to look at you like, oh my God, he's an animal. He doesn't respect women, or they're trying to paint this picture of you. When in reality, that's probably the only thing they have on you. With the board members and their IT department, pretty much infiltrating your data and exposing intimate text messages and among other things, is a tactic used by a lot of these big tech, billionaire, trillionaire groups of people to mentally break you. They try to gain hold of you and use you and toy with you like a puppet by doing things like that. And for the fact that you stood your ground and continue to report and bring truth to a lot of people is what you're generally characterized by.
Well, thank you for that. We have got some really, listen, as I listen to you and I listen to the other gentleman, I assume you don't have an MBA from Harvard, correct? I shouldn't assume that. I shouldn't assume that. Do you have an MBA from Harvard?
I would like one.
Do you have a master's degree in economics from the University of Chicago?
Okay. Unfortunately, I don't.
What I'm hearing in the voices of the callers is the wisdom in their voices. These are not necessarily academics. And my conclusion from the episode, not my conclusion, my analysis is that there is a difference between knowledge and wisdom. And you have some really knowledgeable people that were sending me these pornographic obscenities and publishing medical records and conflicts of interest, but they weren't very wise.
Right.
And I'm reminded of a Nietzsche quote, if you gaze into the abyss also gazes into you. What he meant by that is he who fights with monsters should look to it that he himself does not become a monster. And I've seen a lot of my colleagues, former colleagues, their actions are that of monsters. And maybe they need to find God if they are atheists. Maybe that would help them. Let's go to another caller. Thank you, Enmar.
Oh,
let's go to Diamond.
Thank you.
Let's go to Diamond. Go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
Hey, what's up, James?
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. What's your? Have you seen the Truth Inside Veritas?
I've seen the trailer on YouTube. I haven't seen the film that's on your website.
And what's your reaction to what you've seen so far?
It's pretty diabolical. Way people go after any organization.
Is it human nature? Is it just the people I selected? Is it, I don't know. I guess you have to watch the film to answer that question, but would love any reaction to what you've heard so far on the show.
It might be human nature. I think maybe people's conflicts of interest kind of come into play after a while, but they don't really, I guess they don't have to let you know about them, but I'm not sure about the legal side, but I think over time, conflicts of interest come up.
Over time, conflicts of interest, we tend to fight human nature doing this at OMG and Project Veritas and Citizen Journalism Foundation. The preservation to the instinct for self-preservation often comes into conflict with doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And as you expose the truth, and anyone who's done this in the 20th century and before usually gets killed, assassinated, or crucified, the more truth you tell, the worse it gets, to quote Al Pacino from The Insider. So I think you're right. Another bit of wisdom. By the way, we have a critic, someone who has a different, I always try to be fair. I want to hear both perspectives. This is Mike Mack,
hate speeches on
saying that I'm lying about the board meeting invite. Go ahead, Mike. Tell me your perspective and why you think I'm lying.
Well, no, I should have elaborated a little bit on that. If he could have phrased the sentence right, he would have been able to prove that you were a liar. I'm not saying that you're a liar, but what he had was an opportunity, because about the board meeting, if and just based on just the facts, by the way, and I have a lot of respect for your word, James, but if you were not invited, if you were invited to this board meeting, but you did not attend, that is a conflict there. Like someone is lying in that particular situation.
I see.
And so what I'm saying is he could have proved that you were lying if he could form a coherent sentence, but you didn't follow it
You're
up.
talking about Christian Hartsock could
Yes,
form a coherent
that's
sentence.
correct. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And but you didn't follow it up, and so that's ambiguous to those of us who are listening, because that seemed like he was a good.
Yeah, it's like he was going on a, what do they call that in the Senate, where they just talk at you and filibustering.
Yes,
so that's why I had to mute the mic, because there's no way to have a dialogue. I can respond to that and tell me if you think this answers the question that he posed, which was that when on February 6th board meeting, they suspended me for 2 weeks and said, you're not allowed to talk to donors. You need to take a mandatory leave. And okay, I'll be gone for 2 weeks as requested. And then while I'm on this mandatory leave for 2 weeks, which they mandated by corporate bylaw, then they requested me to come back to work to attend a board meeting. And I was put in an untenable situation, right? Because if I did come back, then I would be violating the previous directive. That's how I saw it. And I think it was quite irrational, so I decided to follow their original directive, which was don't contact any donors and don't, they told me to be gone for 2 weeks, which is what I followed the direction. And that's what my attorney advised me to do. So I followed the legal directions I was given. And I think the whole process is quite irrational, and that was more of this in the movie, The Truth Inside Veritas. And then on February 10th, they indefinitely suspended without pay, which under New York law is being fired. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, that does make sense. And I think that playing that conservative is probably the best bet on your end. But I think for people like us, we go back to the days of Project Veritas, and we would look forward to these the videos that you produce, right? And everything seemed to be cohesive. It's like we could tell we're building towards something. Every day, every time an undercover video or whatever it was that came out, we knew that we were getting information. And so when we see these conflicts between these sides that we know are just like, it's not doing anything productive.
But this is where I disagree with you. A lot of people would say, and I think it's a smart thing you're saying, but I like to say, well, don't get into the weeds on this. Focus on the enemy. Okay, now bear with me what I'm about to tell you. The enemy is within us. The enemy, I don't know who this enemy is. Focus on the bad guys. The enemy is within us. Pride, greed, jealousy, envy. It's actually within us. And don't tell me you're not the greedy. It's always the other guy that's greedy, right? No, we all have an aspect of this inside of ourselves. And if we can conquer that, then we can change the world. The problem with, I think I've seen, the communists, so they have a lot of mission-oriented. If you go back to Whittaker Chambers, if you go back to Douglas Hyde, the book he wrote about communism, these people they profess more belief often in their faith than Christians do in Jesus Christ. So I found that the fight is within. And that's why I think this is a story worth telling, because you can't expose corruption if you don't have the right people that are engineered to fight the conflict within themselves. And that's what this story is really about. You can't have a team of pirates, going after Pfizer and the FBI if they don't have integrity, because it'll just collapse. And that's what I think the next stage of this battle is, right? So thank you for the comment, Mike. I'm glad we could clarify at least some of that. We're going to answer a question posed by Mario's team, a question answer on the air. This is a person nervous to say this, but I'm going to answer it. They're anonymous. They say
to avoid
the intimate text messages that were
and the best survival
shared
techniques to use
about
on your
James and his girlfriend, this is an
journey.
ex-girlfriend of
How
mine,
do you feel?
about a year ago,
Comparison.
Kyle Seraphin, the
I
FBI
imagine you
agent.
feel a
By
little
the way, hint, hint, that might be part 2,
more
3, 4, and
confident
5 of
that
the
you're going to
series.
get to where you want to
Kyle's
go.
going to have a nervous
rather than just
breakdown when
being
he hears
pointed
this. I
in
don't
the
care.
general
He's
direction.
a Fed. He's a disgusting, nasty Fed boy, and I'm not afraid of him. And he's a punk, and he's a loser, and I will get those unredacted affidavits, so help me God. But anyways, the intimate text messages that were shared about me and my ex-girlfriend, how were those obtained? This is the question posed to me. Someone doesn't want to post it, but I'll answer it. How were those intimate text messages obtained, and what was the purpose of them using them against James? I don't know why someone would publish intimate text messages. Now, I know what you're going to say. Well, James O'Keefe publishes undercover videos all the time. No. I have never gone into someone's master bedroom and recorded them having sex or recorded them talking to each other about intimate moments. I think the First Amendment does not include protections of spouses or consenting adults talking sexually with each other. There's absolute no purpose to publish that or record that, unconsenting information. It's illegal. Revenge porn is illegal. Zero-party consent recordings are illegal under federal law. I don't believe in bugging people's bedrooms. Why would someone do that is the question. I don't know how to answer that. I'm not a psychologist. I think they thought, so you're asking why would Kyle Seraphin publish intimate moments between me and my girlfriend that he was not a party to? I decline to comment. But some of these people are hurling homophobic insults at me, and some have said that was a projection of who they are. So if you're constantly calling someone a, quote, faggot, and you're constantly calling someone, quote, gay, maybe, just maybe, that's what you are, okay? And that's my response to that. The first part of that is, how did they obtain them? They were obtained when they fired me. They got my cell phone, and they were able to extract messages from Telegram, which was synced between my personal device and my work device. So unfortunately, they were extracting information that was synced between devices.
You might think is naive,
it's one thing to obtain it, it's another thing to publish it. It's unlawful, it's a tort, it's tortious, you can't do it, and that's what I'm saying. I hope that answered the question.
I have to come in.
Any others before we adjourn? One or two more? What's that? Malloy Strickland?
Gentleman from Kentucky.
Malloy, go ahead.
For 90 seconds. What?
Malloy, you're live. Go ahead. Unmute yourself. No? Okay.
I'll have to stand here and tell the American people.
Oh, there you are. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Well, I've been a fan for a while. I really like what you do. And I didn't see the movie, but
Poor taxes.
of course, everybody heard the news that you had been fired from there. And I was like, have they lost their mind? I mean, James O'Keefe is Project Veritas. This is not, I mean, you founded a thing, and it didn't make any sense to me. And, I can't understand why they thought they could stop you by doing that.
Yeah.
That never made any sense to me.
Well, that's the thing. It doesn't make any sense, and we're hoping to make sense of it in this movie, The Truth Inside Veritas, which is streaming on our website. You can go to O'KeefeMediaGroup.com and purchase it for $9 a month as a subscription. People complain about us charging for some of our journalism. They complain about, they say it's immoral. My response back to you is this. Do you pay for Netflix? Do you pay for Apple, iOS? Do you pay for cable? Have you ever paid for cable news? Do you pay for any type of news? Do you buy a magazine? Do you buy a movie? Do you stream music? Do you pay for a movie off of Apple? This is a legendary film. And I'm not even the one, I wrote some of it, I put some of the exhibits together, but the guy who produced this is an incredible job. It's a cinematic masterpiece.
But if I did,
and it might be some of our best work. And we've shown you about 12 minutes of it online for free. But the full hour, you're going to have to pay $9. We got sued last week, by the way. Do you know how much lawyers cost? $500, $700 an hour. I'm not sure how people expect us to pay those attorneys. And should I put another hater on? Do we bring one more hater on, or are you guys done with the haters? I feel like haters are fun.
So much
I like
that I
haters.
changed my car for.
Let's see if this guy has the courage to speak up. Let's see if this guy. The official B, are you there? You're on mute. See, this is demonic behavior. Can you use your real voice, or do you have to run through a filter?
Hey, what's going on? Elsa.
That was one of the Project Veritas people. That was, I believe his name is Brandon. You just heard a demon live on the. Did you guys just not hear him?
Who was that?
That was Brandon. You know, the guy from Michigan. Security. His code name is Security.
Oh my God!
You just heard a demon, a demonic possession, and RC were exorcising the demons live on the inside with James O'Keefe. Can the demon please come back? I want to hear more. That was exciting. You never know what's going to happen. I think we gotta. My colleagues are saying, "I rebuke you. The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you." You just heard an exorcism live on this show. One of the former Project Veritas people got demonic and was spewing demonic activity. What's next?
Shadow of Ezra?
No, Shadow of Ezra is requesting to come out. We're going to have him as a speaker. Go ahead, Shadow. You're a speaker, and you're unmuted. You're live on the inside with James O'Keefe. Go.
Thank you very much for having me. Is it okay if I ask an Epstein-related question? If not, I will turn my mic off. It's your space.
You can ask me whatever you want. I just can't talk about sources, methods, or what's coming next. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna make it really quick. I was listening to your spaces earlier, and you said you were getting inside information from these Epstein videos from somebody in the United States government. So my question is there a possibility that we'll receive some sort of information from you that will possibly reveal a name or two of an Epstein client list or something along those lines? That's all I wanted to ask. Thank you.
That's a great question. For those of you who are YouTubing, Instagram, you're looking at video inside Epstein's kitchen. Shadow of Ezra was asking about what's coming out next. You're looking at video inside of Epstein's library. This is what Rogan covered yesterday's chalkboard. We got a lot of attacks for publishing this. I don't know why. Do they not want me to publish this? I don't know why people attack me for publishing. I guess they think that there should be more. We want more. Well, okay. Well, we're working every day, a day and night to get you more. Let me answer your question this way. The people that came to us with this footage inside Epstein's library and bedroom were inspired because we published the video of the Prince Andrew banging underage girls audio. And a lot of you guys attacked me for publishing that. You thought it wasn't big enough. But I remind you that what citizen journalists need to do is publish one story. That leads to another story. That trusts sources to come to me. That trusts the other source to come to me. And I am speaking to sources inside the United States government. And they are telling me things I can't report yet because I have to verify that it's true. Now, you might say, well, publish everything you know right now. I will not do that because I don't want to lie to you. And I don't want to publish something that I can't ascertain if it's true or not. I have to get the recordings. I have to get the evidence. So that takes time. But I'm very inspired by the fact that people are coming to OMG and Citizen Journalism Foundation. And I know that there will be more. And I hope that I can deliver the truth of what you guys want. I believe that will happen. I do not trust the government. And I think I've met Kash Patel. I think he's a great guy. I mean this sincerely. I think he's a genuinely good man. I also think the same of Bongino. I don't trust the institution that reports to them. And to kind of take this full circle, we all don't really trust the FBI, right? Project Veritas was an institution I created out of my father's garage. I sweat, I bled. I was raided by the FBI, I was arrested by the FBI. I was sued dozens of times, spent 3 years where I couldn't leave my house without talking to my probation officer. And I bled and sweat and I built it, and they stole it from me. And they removed me from my own creation. And it kind of leads me to believe that all institutions in American society have basically become institutionally corrupt and incapable of delivering to you the justice and the truth that you demand. So the answers have to come from people on the outside like us. So when you comment at me and attack my team for not doing enough, when the guys sitting next to me are working 20 hours a day and our undercover reporters are literally risking their lives going on dates with corrupt people, my response to you is, why don't you step up and join us? Why don't you do the job? We're doing everything we can. I'm sorry I'm not doing more, but I will do more. Stay tuned. Look at this. This is a picture of the phone of Jeff Epstein and all of his closest speed dials. The FBI did not give this to you. The Department of Justice did not give this to you. This was given to you by an individual who doesn't trust the government, so they gave it to O'Keefe Media Group. And whoever that is, I can't say who that is. They'll have to waterboard me. They'll have to torture me for me to give up who this is. If the United States Supreme Court were to order me to reveal my source, I would tell the Chief Justice, Your Honor, you're in error. I shall not reveal my source, because we have integrity, and that's what they trust. And that's why I want you to join our team at OMG. Apply to work for us. You have 3 ways you can get involved. You could come work for us. You could donate to us or subscribe to watch the film The Truth Inside Veritas, $9, O'KeefeMediaGroup.com. And number 3 option, you could do absolutely nothing. So with that said, I have to wish you good night. We're going to be on Patrick Ben David show in the morning in Fort Lauderdale, and hopefully other shows in later in the day, Tim Pool Live. Stay tuned. God bless America. And I'm going to pull that demonic clip up because we saw an exorcism and it was really cool. Have a good night. Peace out. Bye-bye.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt any brothers if they want to go, because now that I got a clarification on truth without interjecting